Are the stories of the Quran reasonable and acceptable? Critics of the Quran raise numerous examples as evidence of this book's invalidity: that Noah's flood engulfed the entire earth, that millions of animal species boarded Noah's ark, that Dhul-Qarnayn traveled to the end of the world and the place where the sun sets, that Jonah survived inside the belly of the whale, or questions about the morality of Abraham's sacrifice of his son. In this section, we will examine some of these questions. A significant portion of the Quran's content is presented in the form of stories and accounts of past prophets. Critics have pointed to aspects of many of these stories as scientific errors, historical errors, or unreasonable claims. However, there is a fundamental point that must be noted before anything else. Many of these critics, rather than taking the Quranic text itself as their criterion of judgment, base their conclusions on hearsay, weak narrations, and common misconceptions about the Quran. When we return to the Quranic text itself, we find a completely different picture. Regarding Noah's flood, the criticism is that there is no scientific evidence proving that such a global flood occurred on Earth. But this criticism does not actually apply to the Quran, because the Quran nowhere speaks of a worldwide flood covering the entire Earth. The Quran always narrates the story of Noah within the framework of a specific people. Noah spoke to his people, invited them, they rejected him, and the punishment descended upon that specific people. What occurred was therefore a regional flood, not a global one. As for the boarding of millions of animal species onto Noah's Ark, it must be said that no such explicit statement exists in the Quran. Narrations from the Ahlul Bayt, peace be upon them, have clarified that since this flood occurred in a specific region, and the aim was to resume life after the waters receded, only the domestic animals needed for daily life boarded the ark. Some of these narrations specifically state that 8 types of animals boarded the ark: 2 types of sheep, 2 types of goat, 2 types of camel, and 2 types of cattle, a pair of each. These are matters where, if we return to the original sources and do not fall prey to weak narrations and Isra'iliyyat, fabricated Judeo-Christian traditions, we will never find ourselves in such confusion. Regarding the story of Abraham, 2 criticisms are raised. The first is that, since no trace of such a figure is found in historical sources, he may not have existed at all. The answer is that history was usually written by kings, who were fundamentally intent on erasing the names of prophets and divine figures. The second criticism concerns miracles, such as the transformation of fire into a garden. This objection, and similar ones about the miracles of Moses, Jesus, and other prophets, stems from the assumption that only material and natural forces are effective in this universe. But one who accepts the power of God and metaphysical forces knows that the occurrence of miracles does not conflict with rationality or the findings of the natural sciences. A miracle is, in fact, the employment of laws unknown to humanity, but in the hands of the creator of existence, not a violation of the laws of nature. As for the question of Abraham's sacrifice of his son, which is a more serious moral objection, it must be said that this story is presented in the Quran in a way that admits multiple interpretations. Some Muslim thinkers hold that this command was a test, and that its ultimate purpose was to convey a message to humanity that the era of child sacrifice had come to an end, which itself represents a forward step in the path of divine guidance. Some commentators also maintain that since Abraham saw this in a dream, he was meant to interpret it rather than carry it out literally, and that because he was a righteous and sincere person, God revealed the truth to him and prevented that event from occurring. Whatever the interpretation, what is certain in any case is that the core message of this story is submission to God and commitment to ethics and spirituality, which stands in direct opposition to human sacrifice. something the Quran has repeatedly and emphatically rejected. Regarding Haman, whose name appears 6 times in the Quran alongside Pharaoh, critics claim this is a historical error because in Jewish sources, Haman was a minister of the Achaemenid king Xerxes, not a minister of Pharaoh, and the Quran has confused the two. However, research shows that Haman may be an abbreviated form of the title High Priest of Amun in the Egyptian language. Furthermore, recently discovered inscriptions in Egypt have yielded traces of this name as a figure responsible for construction projects or as the second-in-command of Pharaoh's government. What critics assume to be a case of mistaken identity and historical confusion therefore loses its basis in light of the new evidence. Regarding Dhul-Qarnayn and his reaching the place where the sun sets, critics object that this is incompatible with science. However, there is no difficulty in understanding this verse to mean that Dhul-Qarnayn reached the westernmost point that human beings had reached up to that time, and there witnessed the sunset over the sea. The expression setting in a muddy spring is Dhul-Qarnayn's own description of that scene, which the Quran has conveyed. Some researchers hold that the intended location is the coast of the Black Sea. As for Jonah and his survival inside the whale, it must be said that this is not considered scientifically impossible. There are very large marine creatures capable of swallowing a body the size of a human being, and their expelling what they have swallowed through a natural process is entirely possible and cannot be ruled out. In conclusion, it must be said that we have not arrived at our trust in this book through blind imitation, but through research and rational reflection. And we have recognized its truthfulness and integrity with our hearts and consciences. Therefore, points that remain unclear to us, or for which we have not found a complete answer, cannot serve as evidence of this book's invalidity, except for one who was never truly seeking the guidance that the Quran offers. Our endeavor must therefore be to draw lessons, wisdom, and guidance from each and every one of these stories.